talking, excuse me, I'm going to try to speak up in this one too. Going to be talking a little bit about the demon in the Crowley house, if it's at all possible. Well, of course it's possible, but how likely and how truthful is that? That's what we're going to find out. That's what I hope to find out. Kind of put that theory to rest would be great. It would be great to not have to think about that theory anymore. This theory originated from, as far as I know, first thing that I've ever heard is somebody talking about a physical manifestation in the house, anything like that, was from Kamel's sister and was briefly mentioned. And basically, what she's saying, or what she said way back when, was that she had seen something. Not in the house that the Crowleys died in, but at their previous house. Kamel's sister had seen something in the house and saw David praying and saw things flying off of the shelf. So we have that. We know about that. We know that that's at least what Kamel's sister has said. There was a physical manifestation in the Crowley house. And again, not in the same house that they have now, but in the house that they lived in before that. Not sure about the Bohemian Grove statue. There was also talk about that. But the other thing was in Alec Wilkinson's article, in his New Yorker article, he mentions this stuff. He mentions demons. He mentioned, or not, maybe not demons, but some presence that might have been following them and these visions. I mean, if you've ever read Alec Wilkinson's article called Death of a Dystopian in the New Yorker, April 10th, 2017, at least the paper version, you'll see that. And when I read that, it was very, very odd to me because I did not understand where did this come from? Where's this guy getting this stuff? And it all came from David's journal, so it all came directly from David. And it sounds like there's a lot more footage out there that, for whatever reason, was not put into Eric Nelson's film and has not been released. Period. I think I would like to see it released, of course, but what I'm really curious in, what I'm really curious about, is was there a demonic presence involved in this case? And it is very far fetched, and it is pretty much based on nothing, right? So based on a couple lines here, a couple lines there, but then you read Alec Wilkinson's article, and the stuff that he's saying David is talking about. Um, if people wanted to paint David as crazy, why didn't they show more of his crazy videos? I mean, look at what they actually showed. And I've only seen the movie once. I've only been able to stomach it once. And I do have to go back in it just to watch the uh, occult part, because that to me is the most important part in my research right now, is to find out, are we talking about any type of paranormal activity? Can we put that to rest? What could we do to really, prove that that's not true, that nothing like that happened, when you have Kamel's sister talking about a physical manifestation, and then you have Eric Wilkinson making all, pretty much just putting in what David Crowley put in his journal about this presence, or about these weird things that are happening. One of the things that David says, at the end of July, this is what Alec Wilkinson says. At the end of July 2014, David suffered a psychic crisis that involved a quote deep understanding stretching my mind past what my body can tolerate. And then he went in to write that he had undergone on he David then went on to write that he had undergone a quote 20-minute physical episode of visions of pure deep horror, long insight stretching unbroken like a panorama. These are visions. To me, this is something. I know the other question, the other theory that's been brought up is mind control, EMFs, right? Maybe they were targeted individuals. Sure, all that's possible. The one thing we haven't really talked about though is demons involved in this case. And um, when I last spoke, one of the last times, probably the last time, no, it wasn't one of the, it was one of the last times that I spoke to Mason Hendricks. And I asked him, why is there a Bohemian Grove statue in David's house? This makes absolutely no sense. What is going on here? And he basically said that they dabbled into the cult stuff. And you see that same line, you see that same bullet point, the same script in Eric Nelson's film. You see the same thing. Excuse me. So, oops, sorry about that. So then, the other thing, there was another thing that the daughter said, talking about this red man. Have you guys seen that red man thing where she's, they're talking about some red man, and then October 30th, Kamel got raptured today. She's still here, right? And this is that morning. David had gone to Home Depot, and when he returned, Kamel came into the kitchen and asked him to hold her. She said something was very wrong. Quote, something about do not fear, sweet body, for we have felt this pain together, end quote. David said in a recording that he made immediately afterward on his phone. You saw a little bit of that in Eric Nelson's film. Very, very tiny bit. But it was there. There was a little bit of that there. Not very much, and it didn't really give you the full context, the proper context. But it was there. There was some discussion about it, some talk about it. And let's see, David went on, paraphrasing her, quote, don't worry about the pain because you do not know how to feel pain, and you will return to the dust and your dark slumber, and I will be gone. I have my mission, she had told David. She said she had heard a woman's quote scary voice. So she's hearing voices. Camilla's hearing voices. She's hearing something. Whether there's a presence, whether this presence angle is really real, she's really hearing something. And that's another thing that you can see in Eric Nelson's film, where you can see that she's telling David that she felt something, and to me when she's talking about this, she doesn't seem crazy. It doesn't sound like this is coming from somebody who's crazy. This is somebody who really saw something or really felt something. I think there's a lot more of this footage out there. I think that's the footage that I would like to see more of, and I'd like to I think a lot of people would too. We'd like to see more of that footage because um, maybe it will explain why David went crazy or did whatever he was doing. Let's see. So she hears this scary voice, and she asks if David heard it. It's just this is bizarre stuff, bizarre stuff, and I don't know why they've downplayed a lot of this stuff. I've downplayed a lot of it too, because it does sound crazy. A lot of it does sound crazy, but these things do happen. These things are real. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but obviously it's just another angle, another road we have to really travel down. But this is all here. This is from their voices. This is what David and Camille are saying. They're talking about these things. I mean, are we reading this correctly? The way that they're talking about these visions and going to a dark place and hearing a scary voice, and then she reproduces this voice for David. Quote, I've warned you, I've warned you. And then, quote, I want you. Please come with me. Please come with me. Your place won't come to me. There's nothing left here. If there is a demonic presence or anything like that, it's obviously trying to get them to kill themselves. It's obviously trying to get them to come to the other side. And I'm not seeing anywhere, at least in here so far, where we're seeing uh, just any explanation. It just kind of mentions it like so many other things. It mentions it and then it's just gone. That's it. Um, let's see. David went into his office and shut the door. This took a lot out of her, he said into his phone. He had held her while she began to, quote, shake and weep and howl. And then she said, this is what rapture is. This is what rapture is. This is disturbing stuff to me. Very disturbing, uh, very interesting, yet, I don't know. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, right? I don't know. Okay. Kamel came to the room and then she laid down next to David on the couch. David said, you said you were Egyptian. And if you notice what David's saying here, you said you were Egyptian. An Egyptian photo or a piece of paper with the pyramids on it is found very close to these bodies. Very close to these bodies. There's a picture. It looks like it was just printed out of a printer, right? Some $40, $50 printer, and set right next to where David was. And that to me was also weird, especially when David here is talking about that Kamel is telling her that this person is Egyptian, this voice, this scary voice, whatever this thing is, right? I mean, this is very, very strange stuff. Was Eric Nelson's film going to reveal a lot of this stuff, and then a lot of it got cut out because for whatever reason, Eric Nelson could not put that in his film. I see a lot of that in that film. Actually, a lot of things that just look, they're just spliced really awkward. But maybe that was the point. I don't know. Then this voice goes on to say, "You said you'd come from far to find me, and Rainey and I need to come with you, and there's not much time." So that's David relaying. He's repeating it back to his wife, which she just told him, as if she's not even aware. Like she didn't even know what this spirit, what this thing was saying to her, because it was speaking. It's very very odd. So this footage is out there. All of this footage is out there, and I can almost, I mean, I'm guessing that there is a lot of footage just like this out there, and they don't want that out, and I can understand that, unless it's going to lead to the truth. Okay, if we're really talking about some demonic presence or something like that here, then let's get that out there. That's what I think. So that was weird. It's the primary emotion needs blah blah blah. I mean, we're going to go somewhere, and Rainey's coming with. Those are the things. This is probably where that pack theory is really coming from. Um, like I was just saying, reading from the New Yorker, right? Alec Wilkinson, April 10th, 2017. And man, you read this stuff. I don't know if any of you have actually read it or how much you can see of that, but um, read that, Death of a Dystopian, and at least in the paper version, I think the digital version, the online version, might be a little bit different, but the paper version is the one that you really want to get because it covers, it's something that can't be changed. They can always go back and they can change the other version, but they can't change this one. And it says, those were the last words, Kamel said, in her voice just just she's whispering. And remember that part in the documentary where Kamel is whispering and we're not really sure what's being said, and we do need some like audio booster to kind of figure out. I mean, and Eric Nelson could have done that too, or he could have just put the captions, right. He could have put the actual text right under it so people could know what she was saying and not just guess and speculate on it. But that's a whole nother thing. Let me just move that here to the side. guess that was from Eric Nelson or Alec Wilkinson's article. But what I'm trying to find is the place that mentions the daughter and mentions this red man, and the red man is gonna get you. Um, that stuff is highly disturbing to me. That is probably the most disturbing part of this whole thing. And there's, I mean, I remember reading some other places where it's like saying that the daughter almost predicts their whole death. And this stuff is really just brushed over and not really talked about much more. So I am wondering if the physical version, I know they haven't, taken anything out of this one, but it does seem like the digital version reads differently once again. And that stuff happens, but I'm really trying to find the part where, like that, a comment here. I would like to know, how does a dog not die for water? Yeah, the dog with the water was probably obviously right. They had two sources, so the dog had at least two sources of water, two toilets that were open. The more likely one is probably in the basement, and because the water is a lot cleaner. The toilet in Rainey's bathroom is really a lot different. Let's see. Could it be that the guys was dressed in facial paint and camo when they filmed the scenes? Which scenes are you talking about when you're talking about the camo? I'd like to know more on that. I'm gonna turn on my second monitor here just so I don't have to look all the way into the screen when I try to help answer some questions or try to try to address some of these comments here. So I don't just end up talking to myself. Yeah, the toilet water. It had to have been the toilet water. That comes from M1009 channel. Let me just mute my thing here. Had to be one of those two toilets, or what else could it have been? Maybe there's a water bowl somewhere else that we just haven't seen. That's also possible too, I guess, right? I mean, for a long time, nobody noticed the two big bags of dog food, of dry dog food that this dog had access to. I kind of glossed over the whole fact that on the counter there's food there, right? Like somebody was still in the process of making food. It looks like a disturbed scene. It does not look like, um, just something planned. It looks just kind of like something happened, right? We all know this. You all know that. I don't need to go back over that. Catherine Harvey asks Greg, could it be the guys was dressed in facial paint and came when they filmed scenes? Yeah, so when they was filming for the trailers or other products they were doing. Um, yeah, I'm uh, sure they were filming, right? They were dressed in whatever they had. They had camo. They had all the stuff that was found in David's house that he had all these prop guns and prop clothing and all that stuff. So I apologize if I'm misunderstanding what the question is. I'm gonna make sure I have all the chats in order too, just so I don't get lost here. But if you'd like to elaborate a little bit more on that would be great. Wish I could figure out a way to like pump in some audio here so it's not just me, and even save some of those comments there. Those comments can be really good. What I'm looking for is the place. I know it's here. I know it's here. I've read this before. So I'm gonna try to find that. Psychosis. So there's a lot about psychosis here, right? There's a lot about different things like that, and just them going crazy. It's like the whole thing, the whole article is made. And if this article, if Alec Wilkinson's article is a reflection of Eric Nelson's film, because he had probably seen it at this time, right? I mean, he's gone through all of this footage. For my guess, he's seen it all. So he would see the edited version or the unedited version, because a lot of the stuff that he's talking about here is not in the film. So maybe it's like a longer version of it. The book is always better, right? The book is always better than the actual film. Maybe that's just the case here. I'm determined to find that. I'm determined to find that one area where where this red man is mentioned. Maybe it wasn't in Alec Wilkinson's article. I thought it was. I mean, there's been so much. You all know how many just different things, and that's why we just need so many different people. And I really like to encourage everybody who can, even if you never publish it, even if you never do anything, write something up. If you're doing research, if you're looking at this stuff, take notes, write things down, because you just never know. One day you might turn back around and find you have a whole book here. You have a lot of great data that might actually help other people. So we do need more writers. We need more people making videos, more people talking about this, um, in a nice, calm, respectful way, and in a factual way that will help people with data. Because there is a lot of data out there that we just have not gotten to yet, and we need everybody's help. Everyone who can, everyone who has time, we can always use your help with not only gathering data, putting the data out there, and letting people come to whatever conclusion they want to come to about whoever, about whatever. This article mentions Alex Jones a lot too, but I really wanted to just stay focused on some of the more spiritual stuff or the more supernatural things that we're talking about. But several times in this article, they're talking about David Crowley going crazy, and it's all about them going crazy. It's all about the wife going crazy. I do think the pack theory had to be played down, had to be played down, and I do believe that's more related to the wife's side of the family, right? Let me go through some of these questions here. I'm surprised the dog didn't go into the backyard with the back sliding door open. A dog can push a door open without a problem. Yeah, I kind of wonder that too, but I mean, I don't know. I don't live in Minnesota. I don't know if that how big, how strong that door was, that rear slider. But if I'm living there and it snows and it's always cold, I'm definitely going to um, have a very thick uh, sliding glass door there, right? So maybe even double pane, possibly. That could be another reason why there wasn't that much sound whenever the bullets went off. That could be another reason why maybe some people didn't hear. I don't know, but I'm not sure that the dog could really do that. But I don't know. I don't have a dog. I've looked at the size of this dog. I've looked at that rear slider, and just for me, not knowing anything about how much weight that rear slider is and how much weight that a dog can actually move, it does not look possible to me. But I'm definitely open to, if we can do some tests, run some tests on it, maybe even a video test. Find a dog, keep the door open a little bit, dangle some food on the other side, see how long it takes for that dog to actually try to break out. But if the dog had food, if the dog had water inside somewhere else that maybe we're just not seeing, maybe that's what happened. But if you ask these cops, they're saying the dog ate off these bodies. That's what it lived off. It made it sound like that was its only source of food. It was not its only source of food, and it was not its only source of water. So I'm not saying that the dog didn't do this. I'm just saying it had other options. All right, let me go back. Let's see. When they were when they were filming for the trailers and all that good stuff. Um, oh, I think we covered that one. One neighbor saw a lot of activity after the death. They said it looked like a cleaning crew. Yeah, I think there was a cleaning crew for like 2 days after, maybe a couple days afterwards, and so that's why there was a cleaning crew there. It sounds like several members of the Gray State team were also there in the house when they shouldn't have been. Let me see if I can pull up who was actually there. I mean, this is why I keep so many notes and so many notebooks, is for this reason, because sometimes you want to go back, and because there's so much stuff, and because you're not, treating this like this is the only thing you're focused on, you forget things. You have to write things down. At least I do. I don't have the memory that I might have once had before. So it just sounds like, okay, client on page 70 on the 94 page police report. Page 78 is where you're gonna find a lot of that stuff. Page 79. What Mason Hendricks told me is that there was a bunch of them in there, and it wasn't just Klein. It wasn't just Mason Hendricks. I believe it was. I believe he even said Danny Mason was there too. I'll have to go back and check that. Check my facts on that. But when you consider the actual source of who it is, well, you consider the source. The thing is that Klein says he was in the house with David Sr. and David Jr. David Sr. is asked and says no. So again, David Jr. What did they ask him if he was in the house with Klein? But the point is, there was a bunch of them in there. They were looking for something. So let's go. Um, Catherine Harvey asks, was she around this little girl when they did the scenes of busting into the doors and with the dogs and yelling? That might have been scary to her. I think she was. Yeah, I think there were, but I think they had spoken with these kids first. It sounds like they took all of those right steps, and there was a whole crew there. There was people there. Who knows if parents of these kids were just standing off camera too. So yeah, it's I mean it happens, right? It's a movie these kids were a part of. It doesn't sound like to me it doesn't sound like the daughter had any problems talking about death. In Eric Nelson's movie, you can definitely see that, right? She's talking about dead people, and they're having a real conversation with this 5 year old kid about death and about this stuff that when I was a kid freaked me out. But she did not look scared. Maybe that's just the way they talk to the kid. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's possible. I don't know. Maybe it was scary to her. I mean, it'd be scary to me. I know that. But if I thought that it was gonna be scary to my niece or my nephew, I would just have them not do it. And I think David was more about getting the right actors, the right people to actually do it. Maybe I don't know. But let's see. I saw the video of Kamel, and he had Christmas lights strung for constellation he was filming. I would like to see more of you and Dan Henning bring the information. Yeah, if there's I mean, what information? What other information can we bring? Can we talk about? I'd like to know more about that. We'll definitely bring it. Z2000 Mom, hi Greg, mockumentary time. Oh, don't watch the mockumentary, please. Let's see. Who was it after the brother? That guy, Chris Klein. Chris Peck. You're talking about Chris Peck. Yeah, don't let Chris Peck in your house. Don't let anybody associated with a gray state in your house, or they might take a crap in the upper part of your toilet. And then when you flush the toilet, instead of clean water coming out, you'll see poopy water coming out. Great. Yeah, really nice guys. I mean, that is just the behavior of that just tells you so much. It really tells you what you need to know. So, I've heard that Z2000 Mom. I've heard that, and we should definitely follow up on that. And I'll just leave it at that if that's okay. Catherine Harvey says there were two bags of dog food and one was open, but as for him getting water, I have no clue how the dog did without water. Also, I've done research about dogs who eat human flesh and they get sick. Do the human dogs? I mean, is blood a source of water for this dog? How many of you have seen the picture of the dog in the pet hospital after this happened? To me, the dog did not look um, weak. Really, it still looked pretty strong. It looks a lot stronger now, but still looks strong. So I'd be curious to really see, yeah, because if the only sources of water are those two toilets, okay, but wouldn't we see some type of sign? Like if you look at those toilets, they look pretty clean. At least the way that I'm looking at them, they look clean. So I did wonder, well, wouldn't there be any dog paws or anything like that on it? But again, maybe run some tests and we'll see. So, yeah, the lack of blood is really odd. Um, if David was right-handed, why was a gun found in his left hand? It was found a little bit like under his left hand, right? So his arms, so he's stretched out. His arms are stretched out, and it's found like right kind of here. And very odd, very odd because he is right-handed, and there's no doubt in that. The police would have known that. They could have known that, right? They should have known that very early on. Can you do tests? Can you do gun residue tests on the body that is so decomposed? On a body that doesn't have the right arm, doesn't have the right hand, excuse me. On the body that only has pretty much on the left hand is just pretty much just red bone. That's it. So I do kind of wonder about that. Would they be able to take tests, and would those tests show anything? Da, 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 David even said he's not crazy and he will never kill himself or his family if anything would happen. Those words tell us he knew. Yeah, we only know of that as far as I know, unless there's another source, and I think I would love to find another source out there. The only source that we have on that is from the it's a second party, so it's secondhand, right? It isn't like we have David looking at a camera. We don't have David writing down somewhere that I will never kill myself. If we have that, if that's out there, we definitely need to help spread that out there because that's a big deal. All we have right now is somebody saying that David said he was not prone to suicide, which is great. That is good, and I do believe there's a couple other times in some other quotes of David where he kind of mentions, he basically says that too. He basically is saying he won't kill himself, but I think it's important to really get the actual quote, if it exists, of him saying I will not kill myself. You know, as close as we possibly can. We got pretty close so far. I think there's more out there. So let's see. This wake up. I will not watch that bogus documentary. Yeah, I don't want to watch the documentary. It was terrible. It was really bad, really bad. Just letting people be updated. Yeah, these guys are so juvenile. I have um, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll look into that. Dan Senior took him but got rid of. Okay, let's see. I posted the bloody. I saw the bloody nose picture today. That was pretty disgusting. Thankfully, I had just eaten, so it wasn't too bad, but it was pretty bad. Okay, so that bloody nose. Um, can you explain a little more about the purpose of the bloody nose? What we're trying to show, how much blood there would be, how little there would be. I was going to ask you some follow up on that bloody nose thing, so I'd be curious what your thoughts are on that. And no paw blood prints anywhere after the dog mauled them. Yeah, that's weird too, right? I mean, a dog, I would think there'd be blood all over the dog's face or whatever, but um, it's really hard to get a good understanding of all of that because we were told that David's head, right? I was told that David's head, all of his head was missing, and you see the photo, and that's not true. It's not true at all. Maybe like half of the head, right? So, the left side. So all of this is like missing. You can see almost through his eye socket into the back of the skull. There's no brain. There's nothing in there. Probably no eyes, I guess. So there's that fleshy part we've been talking about. Greg, do you know why the police did not use luminol even on the dog? Okay, if the luminol is the stuff that turns it blue when you spray on it, there are a couple images of that. If that's what you're talking about. If I got that wrong, if then let me know. They also sprayed the laptop in the kitchen. They also sprayed that too. So you will find pictures of it being blood red, and then you'll find other pictures of it being bluish, kind of greenish. We have to remember, I was going through the photos last night, and they're both up on Dropbox. The photos we got from the Apple Valley and the photos we got from the BCA, and they're not time stamped. I guess I haven't really checked to see if there is maybe in the details. They might be time stamped somewhere on there, in the original, possibly actually, but they are labeled. They're all numbered, and you can see there's at least over 4,000 pictures. I mean, there's thousands of pictures, maybe hundreds, thousands of pictures that we did not get. So there could be a lot of that in there too, and that's where I'm hoping we're gonna see uh, the dog's source of food, of water. If there's any of that, it should be there. Uh, what do you think was missing from the office? A drive. So in the office bedroom, somebody pointed out this very early on the lower rack, right? So on the top you have David's Apple computer, then there's another shelf, keyboard, then there's another two other shelves, and they have like hard drives on it. On the very bottom shelf is this huge gap, and there's nothing there. But if you look closely, you can tell that there's no dust there. You can see like this big rectangle almost, and it does look like somebody took something out of there. I was thinking it's like the size of a DVD player, maybe, whatever it is. Hard to believe that that's a hard drive. It could be a hard drive. It could be a computer. It could be a second computer too. I don't know, but something. It does look like something. Could be books. Could be anything. I don't know, but that did look like something, and it doesn't look like the police ever followed up on it because they wouldn't have even known that there was anything missing. They obviously didn't know there was a bullet hole in the living room ceiling. So, what does that tell you? I feel like I'm getting a little bit of. I thought there was a little bit of glare. It's not that bad. Oh, the blood. Ask away about the blood. Okay, give me a few minutes on that. That's going to be a tough one. The bloody nose was right on point. A lot of blood would have been everywhere. Okay, so that's the point of the bloody nose. Is that blood would have been everywhere, right? Okay, I can definitely see that. I mean, is there any evidence of where the dog licked up any blood, or anything like that? If you look at the footprints that are right below the kitchen laptop, I think a lot of other people have pointed this out too. There's three footprints, and they all look like they're from the right foot. Was somebody hopping around here? What is going on? Being carried? I don't know. It's really, really odd. Very odd stuff. And then when they spray it, um, you could see smears, almost like somebody was cleaning up blood or something. So there's other blood there too that we couldn't see until that uh, kitchen living room floor area was sprayed. And I think there's a lot more of those photos out there too. So I'm looking forward to getting more of those. Let's see. M1009 channel says, I thought they said David and his family were dead before Christmas, but there was a newspaper dated December 26, 2014. Um, no, David. I mean, some people might think that David was killed and his family were killed before Christmas. That's possible. Nobody really knows, right? Nobody can really say when. The last person to see David was probably the person who lived directly across the street from him. They made eye contact, and then the guy who lived across the street from David closed his blinds, and that was on Christmas Eve. That's probably the last time anybody ever saw David. That's the last time he saw David, definitely. So, if we're to believe that that guy's story is true, his name is Brent. In other police reports, his name is Brett. So, if Brett is telling the truth, and we have no reason to not believe that he is, then I guess David was alive at least up until December 24th, right? Just throwing that out there. There was another part of that I wanted to address before Christmas. There was a news. Okay, the newspaper dated December 26th, found in the kitchen uh, trash can, right? So that paper was it was just dated, right? So if you get those weekly papers, they might have some certain date on them. That doesn't mean that that's necessarily when it was when it was put out, or when it was brought to your house, because it's a weekly paper. If it was a daily paper, okay, cool, yeah, I could definitely see that. But it's a weekly paper. You have three different stories. Uh, the driver says one day, right? He says he delivered it, I believe, on the 23rd, and I believe that his mom says on the 24th or something like that. Oh, you know what? Let me pull it up actually. See, instead of just guessing, I'm trying to go back to my memory. I have that. I have so in the 94 page police reports, page 58, if you want to check that out. Detective Brian Bone spoke with the circulation coordinator for This Week newspaper, Kathy Silberg. Okay, the paper is dated December 26, 2014, but it was published and printed before that date. Papers were delivered for pickup by the delivery drivers on 12/24. This is what Brian Bone is saying in his police report. Silberg explained that the papers are left at a centralized location for the delivery drivers to pick up and then to deliver. Silberg said the papers could have been delivered on December 24th, 25th, or 26th. She said the deliveries for 1051 Ramsdale Drive are part of AV9 route. So the AV9 route was something that we always wanted to kind of follow up on, never really did. Really need to really find out when that paper was brought to Ramsdale Drive, because that is a big key. Because you're talking about 24th, 25th, or 26th. Well, wait a minute, we need to make sure it's not. I mean, it's hard to believe it was brought on Christmas, right? Or Christmas Eve, even for me, for that. The 26th makes the most sense. But then Brian Bone, Detective Bone, talked to the delivery driver's mom. The mom says the son delivered the paper on 12/24, but didn't know what time. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Here's the weird thing. Bone then talked to the delivery driver, who was underage, who delivered the paper, and he said he delivered it on 12/23 between 2 and 3 p.m. Okay? So there you go. Three different people saying three different things. Silberg says it could have been 24th, 25th, 26th. The mom says it was the 20th. What did the mom say? It was the 24th. And the son says it was the 23rd. Most likely, you would believe the driver, right? The one who actually who did this. Or would you believe the circulation coordinator, the person who's running this whole damn thing, who should know when the papers would be ready for pickup? 24th, right? At least 24th. Definitely hard to believe the 25th. Maybe. Possible, but it's Christmas. So, here's what they conclude. This is still all on page 59 of the 94 pages. Okay, oh, and also the same person, he did not deliver the paper that was dated 1/2/15 because he was out of town on vacation. Okay, so the paper the following week, he also did not take over to 1051 Ramsdale Drive. It gets even weirder though, because there's two other papers that are just missing that should be there too from the 2 weeks that have passed up until police find these bodies. So the report ends with, quote, as of this time, it is believed the paper that was found in the kitchen garbage can could have been brought in anytime after 1500 hours on 12/23. So they're like, whatever, 12/23, 12/24, 12/25, 12/26. They don't know. They never follow up on it. All right, so that, I hope that kind of clears it up. That's kind of a long-winded answer here. Let's see. Sorry, I have to go let my cat in. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry if I didn't lose anybody there. And I also need to just charge my phone. But cat has to be fed. That is taken care of. I'm just gonna put my phone on this charger here, and we'll get right back to it. But so I hope that answers the question about the delivery driver. Wasn't a whole lot to say about the demonic stuff. Kind of went over that pretty quickly. Anyone who missed it. Um, so what else? There was another question here. What was not the right point? So we got the newspaper. I heard Stevie Wonder was leading the investigation. Yeah, Stevie Wonder might have been leading the investigation. Catherine Harvey says no dog footprints at all. Yeah, yeah, that's weird. These people, she says, these people know how to stage things to make it look the way that they want. But why put that? Why put the Allahu Akbar? Why put any of that stuff there? First of all, and if you're gonna put it, why not? At least in one of these notes, why not have David sign it? Right? Then you would know for sure it came from him. I found that weird. That was a little odd. Yeah, was there any food in the fridge, leftovers from Christmas dinner, anything like that? We never got any photos that showed what was inside of the refrigerator. Really didn't get any good shots of the food left out on the counter. They have to have at least one good shot showing that the dog had dog food somewhere in the house. If there are dog bowls, if there are dog uh, water bowls, food bowls, any of that, they have to have photos of that too somewhere, right? So, sorry. I feel like there's this huge light shining down on me. Probably because there is. So, who shoveled the driveway and the sidewalk and then stopped at the neighbor's house? So, Colin Procknow, I guess, had shoveled the driveway, and it's a common courtesy in that part of Minnesota, or just in the whole state, to clean people's driveways if they're not home, I guess. So, that's that's the reasoning. That's all we know. That's all I know. Let's see. Z2000 Mom says, did I read somewhere that Kamel's family refused to speak bad about David? Is that true? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never really heard them speak bad about David, but you will hear in Alec Wilkinson's article, you will see that the dad does mention it, and does mention that there were some weird things happening with David, calling him up and yelling at him, or coming over to fight him. He does say that, but yeah, you're right. I'm not really seeing anywhere. I've not seen anywhere where he bashes David or goes after him. And why? I mean, who could blame him if he wanted to? I wouldn't blame him. And also, when Dan Hennon spoke with Kamel's father, it was a whole different story than what the Gray State team were trying to tell everybody. They were basically lying. They were basically saying, oh, the family doesn't want anything to do with us. They don't like what we're doing. Blah blah blah. Well, when Dan Hennon spoke with Kamel's father said if he had more time, if he had more resources, he would investigate this. So there you go. You're not going to hear that on the Gray State pages or anything like that. They're not going to talk about any of that stuff. They'll talk about us, but that's about it. I'm trying to make idle threats, but that's just ridiculous. Eric, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. So Eric is Eric Spitfire Wilkinson, Spitfire Sentinel. I still lean towards him being targeted by direct energy weapons. Have you looked into Justin Woolley? I haven't looked into Justin Woolley, as far as I know. That name does not ring a bell, but I definitely will. I'll make a note of that. So look into Justin Woolley. Tell us a little more about Justin Woolley. That would be Justin Woolley. So there was a there was a guy that we connected with who is out there. I forget what his name is, but he's made a couple videos about David Crowley possibly being a TI, targeted by somebody feeding stuff into their brains, maybe even into the wife's brain, making them think that they're hearing voices. I said, yeah, that all makes sense, but it doesn't account for the physical manifestation that the sister is talking about, that the sister saw in the house before they moved to 1051 Ramsdale Drive. Now, nobody else is really talking about that, but if there are some paranormal things out there like that, they need to come out. They really need to come out. Let's see. What do you think? Was he murdered or did he just flip out? I really don't know. Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't know. Um, yeah. So I think you guys are chatting in there. Let's see. Justin has he snapped and shot his mom 18 times and chopped up a teacher. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Was he on meds? Were these people on meds? I mean, we've been trying to find out if some of the crime scene photos or the photos at the crime scene, right? Photos taken at the crime scene show that there were some pill bottles. There were some type of bottles out there, and I don't know what they are, but I'd like to know. So he's not even on meds, and he's chopping it. He chopped up his or he shot his mom 18 times, and that's crazy. And chopped out a teacher. I mean, what the heck is going on? Um, and he was a TI. Somebody was feeding him things, putting things into his brains. Justin Woolley, gotcha. Justin Woolley. Yeah, I'll definitely research that one too. This whole thing has been very very strange. I mean, um, I still can't find that Red Man thing. It must be on another article that I read. Because that was a very very strange thing. So yeah, so I'm not saying that I lean towards the theory of demons or anything like that, but I'm definitely open to it. I think it needs to be covered more. Now, when the two mediums, maybe even three mediums, went into the Crowley house, they didn't feel anything. They didn't notice anything, nothing. Um, when other people went into the house, they claimed they heard something and felt something. And I believe Judy Prochnow and Mason Hendricks are a part of those others that say there's something there. They felt something. So I don't know. I've never been in that house. I know Dan Hannon has been in that house. He said he didn't feel anything, didn't notice anything strange or whatever. So I would still like to get a priest in there or a pastor, preferably, just to kind of bless the house. I think that would be a good idea. Um, but that was really it. It was very disturbing. I mean, what we're talking about here, where the wife is, where she's hearing things. I mean, whether it's real, whether it's not, or whatever, and then they just kill themselves. That does not make sense. What you're also going to find that doesn't make sense too is the fact that people were trying to tell us that the Crowleys were broke. They were not broke. They were not broke at all. No, 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 no. We're talking bank accounts with six-figure digits going in and going out. They weren't broke. Mm-mm. I'm not buying that one. Not at all. And that's the problem. All of these documents, the more documents that we get, the more that we look into this, um, it's just the more that we find what we've been told is not true. And that is how you know that there is something else going on here. There's something different going on here, something bigger going on here. So whether they're trying to hide how crazy David was or how crazy the wife was or something, they're hiding something. There's something being hidden. Are they ever going to put out the movie? Are you talking about the Gray State? They never really even really got started, right? And then I guess Danny Mason was trying to pick it up and make his own version of it. But I don't think we're ever going to get David's version, right? Even if they do put that out there, it's going to be somebody else's thing. And I know Eric, I know we've talked about this where you've said that there's no movie out there like that. I tend to think that there are some out there like that, and then when I really think about, well, which ones are they? Then I'm like, oh, all right, well then I really got to back up what I say. So I'm gonna have to really go and see if I can find any to really back that up. But there was a good movie called Southland Tales. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. I might be one of the only people to have ever seen it, but not exactly the same as what David was doing, but there's so many movies out there. I'll bet you if we look on the independent scene, you might find some people that have already stolen David's ideas and ran with it. There was a lot of things, a lot of movies that came out after David's death that to me were like, oh, okay, oh, this looks the same, or this looks very, very similar to it. So yeah, somebody will steal that. Somebody will steal that eventually. And Friday, right? This Friday, if you guys are all free, if you're a member of the Facebook group Justice for David Crowley and Family, we'd love for everybody to join us. We're doing a conference call, our second conference call. First one was really good. It was long, almost 5 hours, but there was only four of us. So we're expecting a lot more people this time, and I'm really trying to figure out how we're going to kind of make sure that everybody gets their time to say what they want to do. This will be this Friday. Yes, Eric, that's the other one. Marigeddon. Yes, that one with Alex Jones in it too, right? I thought that was like, wait a minute. That came out. I believe that came out like almost like very very quickly after David died. Um, but we're gonna do a conference call this Friday, February 23rd. It will be at 6 p.m. On West Coast time. So adjust your calendars. Just to let you know, right now it is 6:49 p.m. on the West Coast, so that'll give you kind of a time. It is on the Justice. Well, when you say page, because remember we have a group, right? So we have the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group, and then there's a page. There's a Justice for David Crowley of Gray State page. So it is really just for the group, but yes, it is posted in the group, and I'll make sure to kind of bump that up there and kind of what I wanted to do was kind of ask people's help. How are we going to control this? How are we going to make sure that everybody gets their own time to speak, that all voices are heard, and we will need to make sure that everybody kind of gets their if they want to say something, if they want to chat, if they want to talk, we'll have to make sure that everybody gets their time. So I'm trying to figure out a way. Should we structure it kind of like, okay, the first hour or the first half hour we're gonna focus on this, or do we just say, you know what? Because the whole point of it was just to be like pretty much the same thing we do in the group, but it was just to make sure that because there's some things when you translate on Facebook that does not translate, as you all know. So this was just going to kind of give us that extra time to ask more questions, to just chat, and it doesn't have to be about me or about Dan either. I know I got a few comments saying that we weren't really heard, or I wasn't, I was like barely on there. But that was kind of the whole point of it, was to give everybody their own view, their own voice, and just let them say whatever they wanted to say. And I still do encourage people, if you have not written anything on this case, I would love for you to really write something on this. So let's check some of these chats here. Eric, I wonder if you can think of any other movies now that are kind of maybe similar to the 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 Gray State. I think there was a couple TV shows that might have been, but I was very interested when we learned that David Crowley was going to make the Gray State. He was going to turn it into a TV series, and it was going to be something along the lines of I forget what that biker show is. Sons of Anarchy, I think it is. Okay, so we'll make sure that the information is posted in the group. Everybody knows. As long as people are nice, and cool. I don't want to have people getting into arguments. It's not about people trying to prove their theory right. If it's really just about sharing, talking, and agreeing to disagree if that's necessary. So let's see. M1009 channel says David wasn't crazy. The rise is coming, and other United States soldiers know it as well. Only problem, it won't be our troops doing the dirty work. Well, who will it be? I'd be curious to know who you think it will be, because we've been hearing about this for a while now, right? Probably way even before we were even born. This has been going on. There's always been the takeover. Takeover's coming. Takeover's coming. Right? The British didn't see it coming. A lot of people didn't see it coming. So what is that takeover? What is it? What does it look like? When I watched the Gray State, it's like I didn't get that same feeling, but I know a lot of people did. A lot of people really enjoyed that trailer. They got behind David. People that knew David had nothing but nice things to say about David. I also want to just say really quick, because there's a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of people who were involved in the Gray State Project that never get any mention, that never get any notice, that you never know of, you'll never hear of. And they were, there was a lot of talented people. The more I researched this, there was a lot of talented people, a lot of good people that were involved in this. Yeah, I'll try to speak up a little more. Maybe I could speak a little closer to this, but I am just operating here from my iPhone, so I do apologize for the very low audio or bad audio. The microphone that I got for this iPhone was just not. It actually made it sound worse, so I didn't go with it. I decided not to use it here, but I will try my best to speak up a little bit. I think it's good to be ready. Thank you. It's good to be ready for anything. It's good to be ready for any type of takeover or whatever might be coming. For sure, we should be ready. Let's see. Eric is saying it will be the UN doing it. That's who Justin Woolley was going after. Yeah, so the UN I always thought was kind of strange too, because like, okay, they're supposed to be an independent, a separate thing, but look where they're based. Look where all of this is happening. It's happening right here, right in the good old U.S. of A., right in New York. I mean, it's like, yeah, I just always thought that was kind of weird. So, and they don't. I mean, look at what they do. Have you guys read those Some of the UN documents they have out there. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Global population. Mm-mm. No, no, no. Thanks. That is the global government. That is the one. This new world order that we've been talking about. So, okay. Let's see. Zmom. Z2000 Mom. Let's be real. This would never make it to trial, like I said on the group. Wouldn't have enough investigation or evidence to prove it was David. No way 24 people would not see reasonable doubt. Yeah, anybody would see reasonable doubt here. I mean, how do you prove to anybody that David Crowley is guilty? How has the Gray State team or anybody else been able to prove to anybody that David is guilty? They can't. They can't. And they know this. They know that they can't. That's why for them it's better for us to just go away. But we're way beyond that now. Way beyond that. So it's already started, like the events in Texas, like Waco. What are we talking about? I mean, there's shootings. There's all this stuff going on. All these things, people taking away guns, taking away rights. I mean, we've seen it over and over and over. And you look at that, and then you go back to something like David Crowley's Gray State trailer, and it does make sense. It does fall right in line with that. I don't really think that people are going to show up at our doors to come and take us to some FEMA camp, or to come in here and shoot us, and or take us from our home. I don't see that happening, but hey, You never know, and you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared for anything that might happen. So you never want to discount and say never. Never say never. I'm glad I'm forgiven. Finally, I'm forgiven for something. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, Z2000 Mom says A&E was one of the networks. One of the mics said that they wanted the series to air on. That's interesting too. That's a good point because that does show something very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because that was always the big question was who are these guys? Why are these guys making this movie? Why do they care? What are they really gonna do? It was, and then you look at this movie, you look at Eric Nelson's movie, and you see exactly what they did. Exactly what they did, right? All they did was just take a bunch of different things, a bunch of different footage, and just chop it up. I mean, the way that they chopped it up, you could tell what they were trying to do. I felt like I understood what they were trying to go for. I just felt like it just was not happening. They didn't have the footage. The footage was not there. They did not have the smoking gun. They did not have the proof that David was guilty. Therefore, what did they have? Nothing. They had nothing. They just had more that would just lead to more questions. That's not, I don't know. That's what I would think. But it was strange, maybe not strange, but it was interesting that A&E, Gray State, David Crowley's movie or TV series could have ended up on A&E, on the same network that helped make this stupid crapumentary, mockumentary, slopumentary, whatever you want to call it, this piece of garbage, just regurgitated garbage, cowweed. I don't get it. I don't get it. And they basically helped us, right? They helped get more people looking at this case to ask more questions. More documents came out. We still need people to go through those documents. There's a lot of stuff in there that we just have not gone through. I won't publicly put out any documents until I've gone through it and taken out phone numbers and where people live and stuff. But there are documents in the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group that you can go get right now that you can access. So, uh, let's see. Yeah, I feel like my computer's freezing up a little bit too, but we'll just roll with this. A few more minutes here. And too much military activity moving around the United States, seen on trucks and trains coming into the U.S. A lot of those, yeah, things you see with trucks and trains coming into the U.S., that stuff's been there, right? It's been going on for a long time. We've seen it a lot. Some of it looks, I wouldn't say fake, but it looks like they're reusing old footage. It's fear porn, right? There's a lot of fear porn that is out there to get us to just give in, right? Find something, cling on to something, and just go with it. Find a group, join the group, stick with the group until the very end, right? Well, no, it doesn't work like that because we're all people. We're all separate. We're all gonna do our own thing. So, um, but we need to be ready. You do need to be armed. You do need to learn how to use a firearm. You should do martial arts, right? Ask Eric Wilkinson. You should do some boxing, do some fighting, stay in shape, take care of yourself. Being healthy is something that the new world order does not like. They do not like that. They want you to be sick cuz they're sick. They want you to be unhealthy cuz they're unhealthy. They want you to be miserable cuz they are. They want you to be scared because they are scared. And they are scared and they should be scared. They should be very scared. Very scared. And they are. Let's see. Okay. Catherine Harvey says, let me see. Arms are missing, two hands are missing, and other body parts like the teeth. Yeah, just gone, just missing. You know, we asked Detective Gummer what happened to these because in the reports you read them, they're missing. I mean, they're missing. How they're missing? Okay, if it's missing, it can be found, right? Oh, if it's eaten, it's not missing, right? It goes in the dog and out the other end. So when they say it's missing, it's very misleading to some of us. Just what do you mean missing? You don't miss teeth. You don't miss a skull. You don't miss a whole arm. A 5-year-old's arm missing, and you're just gonna kind of brush it off and just okay, well, David's guilty. That's it. It's done. It's over. Like I'm getting a lot of light here. Turn this down a little bit. Just a little too much light. Little rays of sunshine. We are in a police state without a doubt. Do you think we're slaves too? And we hear that a lot, right? We're basically modern day slaves. Um, I can see it. In 2012, that was the big thing, man. I remember that vividly, very vividly. It was police state, police state, police state. Grab your guns, buy more guns, buy gold, buy silver, buy, do this, do that. Get these foods, get these store foods. Buy this shit, buy my shit, buy their shit, buy everybody's shit, right? How does a parent accept this? Dan Sr. makes me sick. Well, maybe Dan Sr. Maybe that's another person. You know, it would be nice to reach out to him. It'd be nice to get his view on this too. It would be nice. It would all be nice. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'd love to see that happen. I really would. I'd love to see him really explain to everybody why he thinks his son is guilty. Based on what? What is he seeing that we're not seeing? And when are we going to see it? So we could put this case to rest and go to bed finally, right? They don't have David's editing skills. Yeah, I guess not. I guess not. Yeah, I mean, there's never gonna be. I don't think there's ever gonna be a movie or a trailer or anything out there like that is gonna be like it's gonna be exactly like Gray State. But I do think that ship has sailed. That boat has passed. And think about it like this. Let's say this was your family. Okay, this was your niece. This was your brother. This was your friend, right? Your sister, somebody. And let's say that you believed he's guilty, right? There's no doubt. The guy's guilty. He made this great movie, this great trailer, but he's guilty of murder, killing himself, killing his wife, killing his daughter. Do you really want that movie out there? I mean, how can you really look at that movie in the same way? And maybe that's what the gray stage is. Is that's exactly what it is. Yes. So I was just very curious about that. Very curious to see some of these things here. But anyways, uh, see, I watched Philip Marshall documentary, and it reminded me of David's murder, except that the family dog was killed too. Yeah, I found that was weird too. The family dog was killed in the Philip Marshall case. The family dog's killed. Hmm. And in this case, the dog isn't. And in the Philip Marshall case, the dog. This is a very very small dog, and it was killed. So that's interesting. Very interesting there too. And I think that was really it. I think I covered more than I really wanted to cover today, but see, I'd love to hear from his sister. She was absent, yet the last person to email Kamel. Yeah, what date was that? I wonder what date the sister did email Kamel, because I think in one of the documents, there was somebody who talked to Kamel after that. That was November 22nd, 2014. Yeah, I think Kamel last spoke with somebody through text message or through instant message uh, in December 2014. I'm going to have to pull that up. And the people who see her, the people that see them both, even though, after everything that happened with Kamel's sister and getting the car back and getting all that stuff back, even after all of that, um, nobody else is really reporting anything strange, any strange behavior out of David and his wife and his daughter, which is weird too, I would think. So, a client, okay, yeah, some client, right? I remember that. All right, all right. Well, I hope everybody can come back here and join us Friday. We'll have much more to talk about, and yeah, I believe they started in October, right? So Kamel and David's sister started talking in October, and I believe the last time that they emailed each other was November 22nd. And I could be wrong about that. It could be a little after that, too. Um, these notes here don't say. But we'll come back to it. I just wanted to give my little view on that. Kind of get that demon thing out there and see what's going to come of that. Probably nothing. I'm hoping nothing. I'm hoping it's nothing like that. Not like a poltergeist or a conjuring. Nothing like what Tom Lydon said, like Shining or something like that, which is a huge, huge thing to say without being able to prove it. So I'll see y'all Friday. Thanks again. Have a good night.